This is Michael Tucker, and you're watching the new Legends on Deck podcast with host Brian Koss and David Conde.
What's going on, everyone? Today is going to be episode 1 of Tips from the Doc, where I want to share some insightful things that I've learned throughout my pro ball and college career that have really helped me to advance my game. So, today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to throw an elite fastball. So, there's 3 main things that I want to talk about today. 1, spin efficiency. 2, the spin axis. And then 3, we're going to be talking about how to increase your spin rate and different things that I've learned on how to put pressure into the baseball. So we'll start with number 1, which is going to be our spin axis, and the most important about developing an elite 4-seam fastball. So I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the term of a 12 to 6 curveball. And what that has to do is the axis in which this ball is spinning. So for a breaking ball, a true 12-6 breaking ball, it would be spinning at 6 o'clock, going straight down to that 6 o'clock number if you were to look on a clock. Now, in order to create the most elite 4-seam fastball, we want to see how close we can get to this 12 o'clock spin axis. So, if we're a lefty, we might be more 11:45, 11:30 on some of these best 4-seams in the big leagues, or we might be, for a righty, maybe 12:15, 12:30. But as best as we can, we want to see how close we can get to getting it to this 12 o'clock spin axis here, so that way the ball has the best chance to be able to cut through the air, just like on that 12-6, how it would be pulling down through the air. Next, we're going to talk about spin efficiency. So, got my Clean Fuego shirt on here. Love their products. Before I found this, I used to throw a hockey puck to be able to work on my spin axis and some efficiency stuff, but love this product. Go check them out. Really great tool to use in your daily throwing. I use it every day now, and it's really good feedback and just a great overall product. So, got our Clean Fuego ball here. Same diameter and everything as a baseball. It's 5 ounces, just like a baseball, and it just gives us a really good visual on being able to see how our fastball or other pitches are working when they're coming through the air. So, going back to that spin axis, we're going to really be able to see how this ball is spinning here on this axis. And so we're going through our daily catch play, we can really see how this ball is working and cutting through the air. So now going on to efficiency, if we're throwing this Clean Fuego ball, we're going to be able to really see if this ball is wobbly or if it is creating a really tight spin, just going straight back just like this. So just like when we're throwing a football and we want to have a really tight spiral and give that football the ability to cut through the air, just like when we're throwing a baseball, we want to do the same thing, but instead of getting to the side of the ball, we want to stay behind it and see how well we can kind of come through the back of the ball and be able to create a really tight spin so that ball has the best chance to be able to cut through the air. Finally, what we're going to talk about is spin rate. So spin rate has become a really big buzzword throughout pretty much all of baseball and at all levels. And it's a really useful tool if we understand how to use it. So if we can spin the ball really, really well, if we can spin the ball at really high RPMs, but it's on a bad axis and it has a bad efficiency, well, then our total raw spin rate doesn't really matter a whole lot. So those first 2 of your spin axis and your spin efficiency are a little bit more important than your total raw spin rate. But one thing that I have found is where I hold the baseball in my fingers. So I actually learned this from a player that played in the Japan League, and they had done some research over there and found that a lot of the athletes that they have that throw elite fastballs will take either this slit of their middle finger or this slit of their index finger and place it on the lace. So you kind of choose one, find whatever feels comfortable, put it right over the horseshoe, and they have found that that is one of the only real ways that they found legally, without using pine tar or anything like that, to be able to increase that spin rate, to be able to really put some good pressure, and to be able to stay on the ball for a little bit longer period of time, to give you some time to be able to accelerate through the baseball. So that kind of wraps up all I wanted to talk about today as far as creating that elite fastball pitch profile. So we'll go back through them one more time. So most importantly, we have to have a really good spin axis. So as close as we can get to that 12 o'clock number, the better. Secondly, we need to work on our spin efficiency. So how well can we really create this kind of a spin on the baseball where it's spiraling almost, but it's backwards. So just like we would want to throw a football and it's going to spiral this way, we want it to create really tight spin, but going in the direction of our spin axis. And then 3, talking about our spin rate and different ways to increase that so we can even have more spin to be able to have that baseball cut through the air even more.
Welcome to episode 54 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss with my co-host David Conde. How are you, David?
How you doing, Brian?
Pretty good. Today, our show is going to expand to a 4-man format. It's a new innovation in the Legends on Deck podcast. And we're going to be talking with Korey Reed and Reeves Martin of Sandlot Skills. Korey's a former college ball player and a hitting instructor and a coach. Reeves is a former professional pitcher in the Mariners system and a pitching coach as well. Korey and Reeves have both been friends of the LOD community for a while now, and we're excited to have them on the show. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
You bet.
James.
So we're gonna try to not talk over you guys and let you guys talk. I'm sure you guys will try to do the same thing, but we'll try to keep it as separate as we can.
Yeah, David and I have a problem with this, so if we're adding one more in, so this is gonna be a tricky
a big test. So how we get started with everyone that comes in the show is trying to give a background. So we'll go left, well, my left to right, your right to left. We'll go with Reeves first. Just kind of give us a little bit of a backup to your story, when you started baseball, why you chose baseball, let's start with that first. Why did you choose baseball, and tell us about your history in the game?
Yeah, so growing up, I played pretty much every sport under the sun, pretty competitively as well. So from hockey to basketball to football, and a ton of golf in there as well. But it just seemed like for my whole life, there was just something about being on the mound that always stood out more than anything else. So in terms of kind of when I started the baseball career, I was playing travel baseball at 5 years old, playing like 700, 800 travel baseball. Never did the T-ball world, never really did Little League. Just my dad tossed me right into the fire at 5 years old. So that was pretty nuts. But yeah, and like I said, from there, never really had the hit tool, but always could kind of figure out how to sling it a little bit. And so getting up into high school there, I started to really focus on just kind of like pitching player development. I got blessed with Randy Sullivan as my pitching coach at a young age. So everything that Randy's doing now, I was able to dabble in, 10, 12 years ago. So all 5'7" of me figured out a way to be able to get up to 95 miles an hour by my junior year in college. And then, from there was able to go play a couple years professionally with the Mariners, transitioned into a coaching role with them after 2021. And then from there, now we're just doing what we're doing with Martin Pitching Performance and really trying to help really as many high school guys as I can go play the game, at least in college. And if it's beyond that, even better.
That's great. Give me an idea, or give us an idea as to that journey from high school to, did you play college ball?
I did. I played 3 years at University of New Orleans.
Okay. And then getting drafted and then going pro ball. I mean, what was that like? I mean, give us how that journey was.
Yeah, so we'll kind of start in high school. I mean, I think if you would have told, 15, 16-year-old Reeves, like, hey, you're going to get some AAA innings at some point in your career, I probably would have looked at you like, I believed in myself, but I've been like, you sure about that? So, like I said, I'm 5'6", 5'7". Graduating high school, I think I was maybe 155 pounds soaking wet. So didn't have any Division I offers or Division II, nothing like that. A ton of JUCO guys. I could pitch really well, and numbers were really good. Could flash some velo. But yeah, so being able to go from that situation in high school, where we're kind of just really fighting for something to let me go play in college baseball, to then having the success that I had at UNO, where I'll kind of toot my horn a little bit here, where I became a Division I All-American. I set school records out of the bullpen and leading in saves and different things like that. I think just I've always kind of been a little bit of a science nerd, and I think it just really transitioned into like a baseball pitching science baseball nerd. So I remember sitting in college classes, teachers talking about God knows what, and I'm on like Driveline Plus, in the back of the class, just watching every single video I could, trying to understand how to get my development kind of as my own coach to take me to the level that I knew I could get to. So it was a wild ride. Getting drafted was probably one of the coolest feelings that I've had in my entire life. Was definitely a roller coaster of emotions that day. But yeah, I mean, to go from, like I said, kind of fighting for a junior college opportunity to then getting your name selected in the MLB draft, to then getting to be around big leaguers and watch a couple guys get called up while I was in AAA. It's just really, if I could kind of give any type of message, it's no matter where you're at in your career, if you throw 100 in Alaska, they'll find you. So keep pushing, and if there's some type of a dream still there, like seek out somebody that's a coach or a mentor, and try and give it everything you got, because you never know where your feet might end up.
So being that we've never done this before, we're gonna now ask Korey the same question. So kind of just give us your background of where you started, why you chose baseball. I mean, I've met you. You're a big guy. You probably could have been a quarterback or played football. Maybe you did. I'm not sure. But why you chose baseball and where did it take you to?
Well, I grew up in a small town, and like Reeves, played all the sports. Baseball, basketball, football, ran track. Never on a golf course.
Me neither.
The baseball thing, I was born into it. My father's a nut. He played collegiately and has coached for 40 years. So he hosted a big tournament every year. It's called the Hillbilly Hardball Classic. And that week every year, the few days preceding and the few days after the tournament, and of course the event itself, that was like Christmas week at our house. I mean, that was so much fun and some of my best memories. So I think that's where my obsession with baseball really started. And then, played throughout high school, couple years of college, and then I was done. So I got into the family business for a while, got in the insurance business. Didn't think I was ever going to sniff a baseball again. And in 2017, I had a friend in Pittsburgh that was coaching at a high school, and he said, hey, come help out the pitchers. And so I was back on the field, and I was back in baseball, so no turning back since then. As a player, I was very gifted. I had a lot of ability, a lot of raw ability, but it was very raw, and I didn't know what to do with it. And by the time I got to college, I realized where I was behind wasn't athletically, but it was like some of these guys around me were a lot more refined. They had these technical advantages that I hadn't figured out. And so I think that's what started my coaching career. It's like trying to figure out what is it that guy's doing that makes him so much better at this than I am. How do I do that? And so here I am 10 years later, and every bit as curious and like boyish about the game of baseball, because it's just, I'm still learning all the time, still figuring it out. So.
Yeah, no, I think, what I'm hearing from both of you guys, which is kind of interesting, is as instructors, as coaches in the game, you guys are always like kind of looking for like you were saying, what's the technique, what's the better technique, what
even if it's not technique, what's the mindset?
What's the mindset? Yeah, what am I learning? What can I learn from others? Right. Yeah. So I think that's probably what I'm seeing with both of you. What leads you into the coaching instructional side is the curiosity about the game and performance and all that.
Well, Reeves was a lot more successful playing. His playing career, he went a lot further and did a lot more with it than I did. And so he's an interesting, he has that personal reference. Mine's just like, thousands and thousands and thousands of baseball games, and seeing it and being around it so much, just being so obsessed with it.
But I think that's the best thing that brings you guys together. I mean, Reeves might have been on the field longer, and you might have studied it differently, right? So you bring those two minds together, and then you can complement each other on helping the kids to get to where they need to get to on different angles, but work together on it. So I think that's why you guys get along so well.
I agree.
So
100%.
in that sort of vein, so I want to ask you guys a question about player development or player, ability. So what do you see, and we could start with Reeves, but what do you see in players at the high school level or at the college level that you look at a guy and you say, I think this is a next level sort of player. This is a guy that can play collegiately at a high level or play professionally at a high level. What is it that there's got to be maybe a combination of things, but what is that formula that you think a next level player has?
So I think guys that have been around the game for a while, there's just something about how a ball player walks and talks and how they act. It's really something you can't quite put your finger on, but you just kind of know it when you see it. And it's very loud and clear. So I've been blessed. I've been working with a couple travel ball teams. And, as soon as I walk out, I mean, I could see in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, that dude's probably going to play varsity baseball. That dude's probably got a chance to be able to, go play some college ball. Before I see him run a 60, do a throwdown, do anything that's really quote on the field. That's really like a skill thing. It's just how they go about their business as well, even at 12, 13 years old. And I would say outside of that, for me, kind of in the pitching world, one, I want to see long levers. I joke that I'm 5'7", but my wingspan is not 5'7". I got long arms. I'm like legs and arms. That's pretty much all I got on me. So in terms of like pitching stuff, I want to see that. And really outside of that, especially when I'm working with those like freshman and sophomore, kind of like that high school range, it's really strength. The quicker that you can get a guy doing the quote right things in the weight room, they're just going to be light years behind light years beyond everybody else. That's really going to be kind of just playing catch up, like those first couple years of college, rather than them being able to really build onto their development. So, being a ball player, pitching wise, like long levers, and then three, just like being a dude in the weight room, doing the right things is really the three things that I really look for.
Yeah. So Korey, same question.
Well, I think you got to be able to throw well. Throwing is the one thing in this game that you have control over. And it drives me crazy when I see older players that can't play catch well. I think you need to, you're looking for arm strength and foot speed. Those are the two things that are, like, some would argue are God-given or a lot harder to develop at an older age. So, and I think a lot of that comes from doing athletic stuff when you're younger, when you're growing. If you're sprinting all the time, you're probably going to be fast when you're older. So the other thing is guys who rotate really fast. That hitting tool, a lot of times that takes a long time to develop it. But if somebody can rotate really fast and they've got this raw speed in their body, well, it's probably going to compete at a higher level.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So there's a lot of I hear athleticism is part of it, just overall athleticism, and
absolutely,
then
the ability to compete.
The ability to compete, the attitude that you bring to the game, because you need guys that want it, right? The guys that want it can work on the other things to make them better players.
Right.
So I have a question.
Fun too.
Yeah.
So I have a question on that. Reeves made a point on, you can see certain guys and it, right? Have you ever had an opportunity or never had a time when a kid surprised you? Like, you did not think that kid maybe had the ability to go, but he put the hard work in, but he and then came back and said, wow, he did what we maybe didn't see. And I can say, as a coach with younger kids, I have at least one kid on my team every single year that he walks in the field. You don't see the ability at the end of that season. He's better than what you thought he was going to be. Have you ever had that with kids?
I think Korey and I both know of one, and we actually have the pleasure of working with them on both sides of the ball. And I think you know who I'm talking about, Korey. So we've got a kid, that actually hits with Korey and does all of his pitching stuff with me, which is awesome. So we're able to kind of tag team. What Korey's seeing on the hitting side a lot of times, when we're talking about lower half or how things are moving, it's like 9 times out of 10, it's like, hey, I'm waving the same flag. Like, hey, it's the same stuff that we're working on. So it's cool to be able to bounce that off each other. But Yeah, I mean, we both had the same kid. He was pulling down like 72, I think, with me at the start of the summer. Ran it up to now he's pulling down 85, and he's doesn't miss a session with me or Korey. Does everything that we ask of him, and probably and then some. And it's almost more like, hey, I need to rein him back in a little bit here and there. But 100%. I mean, I remember first day that I was working with him, and it was like, as a coach, you're going to have some guys that you're mentoring to hopefully, get a chance to step on a college field or maybe even a big league field or wherever that looks like. And then you have some guys that's like, hey, like I want to go make you the best human being possible and be able to, and one day if you want to go start your own podcast, if you want to run your own business, feel confident in yourself, right? To be able to own that in the same way that you're going to own your baseball career. So yeah, I've definitely had a few of those, and I think I myself was kind of one of those that might have surprised some people as well.
Yeah, I think it's amazing when it's a kid you least expect. I mean, and I think sometimes the talent comes on later in life, right? Some kids like you start at 5 years old in travel ball, right? And then there's some kids that maybe at 10, 11, 12 years old, it just clicked. And they're like, oh my God, I understand the game. Maybe their body changed. There's so many changes to the game, to themselves, that sometimes kids just, and we don't know. Maybe a kid clicks in high school and takes over and goes plays pro ball. You never know. You never know what these kids are. But
Well, and David, going off of, oh, I apologize. No, go ahead.
no. Go talk.
Well, and something that's that I can kind of parallel with that is a lot of times the biggest thing that I really do in the first couple sessions when I'm working with a guy is like, what are your goals? Now, if they're a younger guy, it's like, take your time, man. Do what you need to do. Figure out the game. The game will kind of reveal itself to you a little bit, right? But especially when I'm getting high school guys, it's like, hey, like, are we trying to push to go play in JUCO? Are you wanting to go play at LSU? Do you want to step on a big league field? And getting them to understand, hey, like average age in the big leagues is what, like 27-ish, 27 some change, around that number, 26, 28. You're 17, 18 years old. Think about this window that you have 10 years to be able to get to where you want to go. And now let's take a deep breath and not try and freak out over this roller coaster of your velo's up, your velo's down, your velo's up, right? Whatever it is. And just understand you got 10 years to get where you want to go.
And I think at the end of the day, like you said, it's about life too, right? It's about if these kids are not going to play baseball, you're preparing them to be men in this world and take on a challenge. Like, I think baseball is the best sport to teach responsibility, to teach discipline, to be able to work as a team. And then when they go into the real world, they have to face that. This world is going to attack them in different ways. And if we can prepare them for the real world, then we've done our job, even if they don't play baseball ever again.
100%. It's, I think one of the biggest blessings that we could ever have in life is to try and go chase down greatness in whatever field it is. And whether it's on the mound, whether it's hitting, I couldn't do it as a hitter by no means, but for me on the mound, like, I don't think I could have learned more about myself than choosing to go try and pitch in the big leagues.
Yeah. So you guys touched a little bit about how you approach the different kids and stuff. So we're going to go a little bit more to your specialty. So with Reeves, we'll go first. So what's the key points of advice you can give a kid who's pitching, that relates to pitching? Like, what can you give them to get them better, to work on different aspects? Like, how do you gear your training to that position?
So this is like my my bread and butter here, so you guys probably won't be able to see it, but like I told you, baseball nerd, right? So the biggest emphasis that I have, and I had the conversation last night, I think, with 2 out of the 5 kids I was working with, there is no perfect pitching motion. We have the World Series coming up. Go watch guys and go watch how they throw. They're going to throw from different slots. They're going to get to different positions, and that's okay. So one of the biggest things that I've learned really is letting the athlete, right? And so I'm giving them tools. I'm giving them what this fancy new word of coaching, which is like a constraints-led approach, right? Where I'm challenging them in certain positions or challenging them with a certain goal to achieve, and letting the athlete. If they're in game 7 of the World Series and it's 3-2 bases loaded, 2 outs, the last thing that I want going through their head is something mechanical. Granted, there's feels, there's different things like that. But if we're trying to feel and really figure out where's my back leg, where's my elbow, things like that, you're just screwed. And you're never going to really be able to play the game at a high level. Like, and I'm waving like I was that guy, and I try to quote have these perfect pitching motions. And it's funny now that I go back, I threw a bullpen the other day. Velo is probably higher, right where it was when I was really training at times. And it's like less of me trying to have these quote perfect movement patterns and more of, making sure I'm doing what I need to do in weight room, and giving myself the challenge of letting my athleticism come out in my pitching motion.
So Korey, let's switch to you and let's switch you on the hitting side. What are some of the things that you focus on with the kids and getting them ready to approach the plate? You know, I always say the game is, I say, my kids don't agree with me, 95% mental to me, 5% physical. And when you're at the plate, 1,000 things could be in your head going on, and then you're trying to focus on hitting this little white ball. So give us what your approach is.
Well, I think it's just like the pitching delivers. There's not a perfect swing, you know. A lot of hitting is like, it's not A swings, it's like B swings or C swings or D swings, right? And you're trying to get away with something you actually did wrong. You're hoping it gets over the infielder's head for a single, right? So hitting's such a game of adjustments, and it's about really giving yourself the opportunity, maximum room for error, right? And for little guys, I think the best thing we could do is give them a long, big bat. Thicker handle's probably better. I think those big, heavy bats, it teaches your body to kind of swing that, right? And at first you might stink at it, but if you start getting the sweet spot of that bat on the baseball, your body's starting to learn how to do that. It has to be moving better. You have to have better mechanics. So a lot of what I've been doing lately is really on the grounds of like big, heavy bats and a lot of fluid movements kind of through the swings with that. And then the other big thing is footwork. Footwork's really overlooked, but it's like dancing, so hitting's rhythm. If Reeves is throwing and I'm hitting, I'm trying to essentially dance in rhythm, in step with Reeves. I've got to mirror what he does. So rhythm and footwork is huge. Big bat, rhythm, footwork.
I want to say one thing on that, which, you hit a great point with the footwork, is I had a kid that came to the team and he had a great swing. He's proven he's always on base, but he would just put his foot up and down and swing. So all I had him do was just, hey, let's just make it like a rocking chair, right? Let's just go, step and go. Don't do the up, down, then go, because your timing is all off and you don't get any type of power. You just swing with your arms.
Tempo.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna tell you, that one little thing, and I'm not a hitting genius, but that little one thing, he did that, and now it's like fluent. I mean, he's on base all the time, hitting the ball, and then probably in his mind, he's like, oh my God, that one little thing, and now I'm having fun, I'm comfortable. He's not worrying about it, he's just doing it. So I think that's the whole thing, is teach them how to just do.
Yeah. Well, the hitting world's so ridden with like mechanical stuff, and we're making these kids so rigid. And it's like, well, why do you pick your foot up? You added tempo to that kid. I can see it in my mind's eye. This kid picking his foot up really rigid and robotically.
Exactly.
And it's like probably because someone said, "Get your foot up and get your foot down."
But didn't show him and didn't explain it. Just yelled at him and said that, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's the advantage of doing that, young man? Why should you do that? So yeah, those little things it's really the fundamentals. Like I spent a lot of time on fundamentals. I just give it my own little twist and swing on it, because it's got to be a little bit entertaining so the kid, can remember it and relate to it, but you want them to practice it. So, in terms of working with hitters, I think Reeves would tell you the same thing. A lot of times the best drill is the one the kid will actually do.
Yeah.
100%. I put it on my Instagram story the other day. It's like, chances are you probably don't need a new program. You don't need anything else. No. You don't need more, less weighted. Like, you just need to do whatever's going to get you to buy in for. Give me 8 weeks. Give me 8 weeks of doing something a little bit similar, and keep nudging the needle 100%.
Well, everyone wants guys like us that work with, the human body, and it's a lot more mental. Like if someone's going to make a 24-hour shift, that's a spiritual, mental, emotional shift. It's never going to be physical. If someone wants to make a physical shift, it's like 10,000 reps. If you're wanting to make some hitting changes, go wear holes out in the front lawn, with your feet, because it's going to take some time, and that's the answer that no one wants to hear, but it's the truth. So we all know that, I think.
Yeah. Well, we do now because we're older.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, we definitely don't want that. It's like, man, I want this quick fix, and it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
No doubt. Yeah. Well, tell us, I'm going to shift gears a little bit, talk about what you guys are doing as a team. right? So you guys have launched this Sandlot Skills program, which has been going on for a while now. Last winter, we had you guys here in Orlando. You guys ran a clinic with the Little League in Orlando. And you've got something scheduled with David down there in the coming weeks. But tell us about, where the concept came together on Sandlot Skills, how you guys decided to work together on this program, and, kind of how you design camps and that for kids on the instructional side.
Well,
yeah, Korey, you go.
Sandlot Skills, it's a nonprofit, and where that all started was just this. I had this idea in my mind. I wanted to go do camps at local parks. I wanted to try to give information that kids would be paying a lot of money for in facilities from guys like me to grassroots base level players, and then I ran into Reeves at the ABCA, the American Baseball Coaches Association convention in Nashville last year. We ran into each other, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing in a few weeks? I got this baseball camp in Orlando. I need somebody to help me." And he came out. We had so much fun, and it was like, we're going to do this. Whatever this is, we're going to run with it. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep trying to find more kids and more leagues and more opportunities. I think what we're trying to do is a lot of kids have a private coach like us. So we're not trying to come in and crap in somebody else's backyard. We're trying to come in and give kids, again, grassroots things they can do at home on their own, but not get in the way of their other coaches and the things that the other coaches might be spending time with them on, right? This camp coming up in Fort Myers with David, it's special because it's just a pitching camp. Our previous camps, we've kind of, done a little bit of everything, right? But this one, because we've got this partnership with Clean Fuego, who are really tight with Reeves, this camp, the kids are going to be going home with, a device, with a unit, with something they can practice with on their own. So not only are they getting information at the camp and, information as to how to use this new tool, they're actually getting the tool to go home with, and that's included in the cost of the camp. So to my knowledge, that doesn't, nobody's really doing that. I don't know too many people in baseball. They're going to a camp and saying, "Hey, we're going to teach you how to use this device and help you understand how to track it as you move forward and practice on your own." So with that, I'm going to pass it to Reeves.
No, I mean, I think you kind of gave the overview as well. I still remember walking out to go, I left something in the car, and it was like one of those Spider-Man moments, like, "Hey, you're here too." And then, the conversation just kind of started from there. And yeah, I mean, it's something that I've had a passion for. I think one of my goals when I was playing, so I grew up in Temple Terrace, Florida, and Little League's, it's all right. But, I've always wanted to give back and didn't quite get the big league paycheck, right? So, the best way that I can do it rather than writing a fat check is to just go spend time there, put my feet out there and try to give knowledge as best as I can. And just like Korey said, I mean, I'm not a big tool, gimmicky, whatever kind of guy per se. I do love a Clean Fuego. I use it with every single guy that I train with. And the best way that I could feel like I can describe why they're so powerful and why that's so useful is with the football, right out of the bat, whether you're quote throwing it well or not, it's going to spiral, right? You're going to see that thing spiral and hit your receiver, right? With a baseball, especially with a fastball, we don't really have a tool. Sure, we can draw lines, we can do things like that. You can try and throw a hockey puck, but at the end of the day, it's not really giving you the best feedback possible. And I just haven't found anything that kind of replicates the Fuego. So it'll be really cool to give these guys a tool. I mean, and I'll tell you from my own experience, from my baseball playing journey, one of the reasons, and this is what the Mariners told me after I got drafted, one of the reasons why I got selected, my fastball velo was okay. I mean, I was 1 to 4. I grabbed a 5 here and there. I had a pulley yank 95.8, so an almost 96, right? But I spun the ball at a really, really high level. My spin efficiency, if I can still go throw now, it's 99 to 100% every single fastball. My vertical break on my fastball is 18 to, I can get it up to 22, right? So giving these kids these tools, that's hey, whether you're whether you're going to be in, that private facility coaching XYZ, if you just take this thing and throw it every day, I promise you that you will get better. And that's not just for pitchers. That's for guys. I love having guys that I work with that are catchers and outfielders. Like, hey, you want to hit your cutoff man more often? Throw this and see how far you can throw it. So really quickly, I mean, where the Fuego came from was from the Dodgers assistant big league pitching coach with Connor McGinnis. And I got to spend some time around him, and he would tell me like Kershaw can long toss this thing. That's how clean and how efficient and everything that he does with his fastball. He can throw it 300 plus feet because he gets behind it. He understands how to create ride. And anyway, it's just an awesome tool. So I'll be excited to, get down there with you, David, and share not only just the knowledge, but to be able to bring them some cool gifts as well.
Well, that's awesome. The one thing when I first heard about Korey and stuff, and he mentioned Sandlot Skills. When you think Sandlot, you think about the dirt fields. You think about, I think about back in Brooklyn, back in the days growing up. I didn't have coaches. I didn't have anyone showing me anything. We just went on the field. We played the game, and that's what it was, right? We went back to the what we remembered, and we had a guest on one day, and he said that kids nowadays they don't have that mindset to just go out and play. They have to be told what to do, and they have to be told how to play the game. They have to be shown it. Kids don't have that Sandlot skill mindset. They don't know to just go out and pick up a ball and play. So I think the generations are different. So what you guys are doing, and how you're bringing the game back to the simple understanding of the game of throwing a baseball and just kind of bringing that love back, I think is key to getting these kids back to loving the game, where it's not just, hey, we're going to go play go pro and become a major leaguer. We're going to play a game that we love and have fun with it. And I think that's the most important thing, is having fun playing this game. Like we all four of us love this game. Brian and I write about it. I coach about it. You guys coach, train. But the simple thing of just waking up every morning and thinking about something you love, and it just being, hey, just go play catch. Let's just go on the field. I always said I want to grab 18 kids, put them on the field. Here's the bat. Here's the balls. Go play. I'm gonna just sit back and make sure nobody's fighting. That's it. Just go have fun, and I don't care about anything. You guys call balls and strikes. You guys tell me who's out, who's safe. You guys figure it out. Because at the end of the day, I guarantee you those 18 kids will walk away from understanding the game much better than having me scream at them every 5 minutes. Be here, be there, be there, because they're just playing it.
Yep.
Yeah. David, you're right on. It's funny as we start talking, you kind of go back to the Sandlot Skills stuff. Where I grew up in Temple Terrace, like we would go up and we would literally play wiffle ball, and I can still go to the spot that we all grew up in and played wiffle ball, and I swear to you, there are holes worn out from where we would hit. Like the right-handed one is like way lower than the left-handed one, that you can still literally see where you used to like stand for a pitcher's mound. Like it's just one of those things. We had like this fence. It's like, cool, hit it out. Like you try and hit a car as it's driving by, like playing football. And like, sure, I played travel baseball when I was 5, man. But it's like, I'm also trying to hit golf carts driving by, So 100%, you're right on.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of it. You don't see a lot of kids doing that anymore. Everybody's very scheduled, and we're all guilty of it. I mean, me with somebody with a lot of young kids, we schedule them out for everything, and there's not a lot of free time. But I just wanted to say on the Sandlot Skills program, what I have seen of it, you guys did a very good job, and I was at the one in Orlando last year. You guys did a very good job of just engaging. There was a big crowd, right? So there's a lot of kids at these events, and you were able to spend time with all of them and kind of just let them do things that were helpful, skills like you had said, but that were fun. The other thing that I saw, I'd love to see, I got to go find this video. I have a video of Reeves talking about athletic throwing. It was a great video. And it was just all about throwing and moving and having, how you it was great. And then like, it was like something that you would have seen like a clip out of a movie almost. Not even kidding. It was great. And then Korey does this T-ball, tennis ball deal with hitting, and there were kids that had never played or were trying to figure out how to play, and they came out and they loved it, and their parents were enjoying it, watching. So there's kids at all skill levels there, which was cool. And the other thing is the coaches actually were there and helping, so it was part of the Little League training. But I think the coaches themselves really appreciated having, because most coaches are dads that played baseball 20 years ago, right? So they played baseball, little league, in high school maybe, and that's about it. And they haven't, they haven't thrown the ball in 15 years. They enjoyed getting to look at a number of skills that they can use on the field at their practices. So I think that's an invaluable skill that you guys, or service, I should say, that you guys are offering through Sandlot Skills, is just giving coaches the ability to see what, guys that are doing this in the training world are doing, and practice drills and things that they can pick up on. So I think that was very valuable.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, Brian, thank you.
We think the coaches are as much a part of it as the kids. They're 50% of the event in our mind.
No doubt. And it's just it's the participation and the growth. In my opinion, one of the reasons that David and I think both write about baseball and do these podcasts about baseball is because we want to see kids in the game grow. We want to see kids grow, not just the stars and moving on to that, but we want to see kids that enjoy baseball at all levels and that become engaged in the game as fans and whatnot throughout their lives.
Sure.
So what can we do? I talk to kids all day long because I teach, and there's baseball kids out there, but it's not the same as it was when I was a kid. There's kids that they're either very compartmentalized in the sports that they play, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't really follow baseball, but I follow soccer or I follow basketball. But and you talk to a baseball kid and they know a ton about baseball, but some of it is about broadening the fan base.
You're in Orlando too. You're in Florida, so
right?
Up north where they have the seasons,
that's
kids
a good point.
Still more multi-sport. They'll still be interested in the NBA and the NFL and the MLB all simultaneously.
Yeah. Maybe that's true.
Florida kids are all in. It's such a unique place with that. I mean, kids are like I said. I think I played 4 sports growing up. Reeves, you did the same. Kids are all in on one right now. That's Florida, which is good for us baseball guys because
there's a ton of baseball.
And you get kids, you see them so frequently, and you see them for such a long stretch, and they're so all in. I mean, they get good, they get really good. So
right. Well, I always get it. Sorry, one last thing. I always get the question from kids. Some kids will come, say, Mr. Koss, Messi or Ronaldo, or they'll say LeBron or Jordan. First of all, they never seen Jordan play. So, but I've seen them both. But they'll say, and my response to them is Mike Trout or Bryce Harper, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Really? Most of the kids are like, "What are you talking about? I don't know who you're talking about." And that, to me, that response is kind of a problem for baseball.
Yeah, we need to get more kids interested.
Yeah. So I think broadening the coaching and not just having the specialized coaches out there doing stuff for just baseball kids, but kids that are playing maybe multi-sports or dabbling in a number of different sports, getting them thinking and liking baseball is a good service to provide.
Yeah.
So
I think the kids should play all the games.
Absolutely, Brian.
Yeah.
I'll have all my guys, whenever we're getting warmed up, I'll put a timer on my watch, 5 to 10 minutes, and we set up like spike ball, or I'll set up playing like 2-ball, or we'll play like fungo golf, like something that's getting them outside and moving. That's not, hey, you got to do your plyos today, and then you got to do your arm care. Like, shit gets old, man.
Right.
Yep.
So with the camp coming up, Korey, you mentioned, which makes a lot of sense, so many kids are training with so many different people, right? I got this trainer, I'm stuck to this trainer. And when I'm sharing about the camp, I'm telling kids, I'm saying, listen, I'm telling the parents, okay, you may have your training guide, but there's nothing wrong with attending different camps, because different camps are going to give you different type of skills to look at. You're going to have your trainer that you're going to focus on, and maybe the kid will say, hey, can we try, different things. So what can you just share real quickly with the parents, if the parents ask, what is my kid, what am I going to expect my kid to do, or what's going to happen at this camp? So what can you share a little bit about that? So if they're watching this right now, what are they going to expect on November 11th in Cape Coral?
Well, I'll lay the overview here, and I'll let Reeves get in the details, because I think he and I both agree, like, we're not going to come in there and say, hey, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. Oh, you're seeing a coach. Oh, you're paying him. Well, you're wasting your money. We're trying to give these kids over this 2.5, 3 hour event, something unique, something they're not going to get anywhere else, something that complements whatever it is they're doing. We as coaches, we recognize it's like nobody's a finished product. So maybe this kid's a little bit rough around the edges. Maybe he's working with the coach and they're on a timeline, right? Maybe they're halfway at the midpoint of that timeline. So for us to come in and like interrupt that in some way or try this and tinker with that, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're not doing anybody a service there. Again, I think with this camp, the whole thing is like spin rate is such a conversation in baseball, such a talking point in baseball right now. Reeves is going to break this down into bite-sized chunks to where you understand what some of this stuff means, but more importantly, you understand what it means to you specifically. And you understand kind of the ranges of things, like where you add up in your age group or where compared to a major league player or whatever. So, Reeves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in terms of how I coach and how I know Korey coaches hitting as well, is I'm never trying to like show you the X, tell you this is the X, this is what you have to do, right? I'm giving you bumpers and I'm giving you kind of these guardrails to be able to let yourself kind of like self-organize to be able to achieve in your own unique special way, right? And so when we're talking about kind of what we're doing down at the camp, one, for the catchers, it's like, hey man, you're going to learn how to, one, get a tool that's going to help you immediately increase your pop time, because you're going to have cleaner, more efficient throws and hopefully kind of rule out some of these errant throws as you kind of build into understanding how to using this. And then on the pitcher side of things, I think the game has gone in such a weird place where it's like we have these old school, we have these new school coaches. And I really think the future of especially coaching is going to be the guys that can kind of swing from the pendulum from both. I like to think of old school as a little bit more of, quote, subjective, right? A little bit more opinion based. And we'll call new school, I mean, it's mostly just more of the objective, like here's the data, XYZ, this is what you, this is kind of what it's telling you. And so for me, as we go do this camp, is like I want to be able to swing from both pendulums, right? I want to be able to give you the data. Hey, here's when we're throwing the Rapsodo down, you're going through your bullpen. Like, this is just what it's telling you. Like, good, bad, and different, whatever we want to label it as. Like, if we were taking this pitch or your kind of like group of pitches and looking at your pitch characteristics and comparing it to a big leaguer that you might move similar to, or maybe similar arm slot, kind of things like that. If we're looking at pitch comps, this is just where you're at. And like, let's use that data and like, let's give you some actionable items and tools to be able to improve upon that, right? This is your velo, period. End of discussion. Is it going to go up in a year? Yeah, probably, you're 13, 14 years old, right? But at the end of the day, like, that's the reality of it. And so I think getting kids to understand, one, where they're at, and understanding, just giving them a guideline of, if this is what you say you kind of want to do in the game, or you might have no idea what you want to do in the game, but now you're going to be able to walk away with something that's probably going to entice you a little bit, like, oh, this is fun. Okay, I can do something a little bit different. And I think one of the biggest things that kind of these light bulbs go on when I'm working with guys is my goal is to make you the most difficult hack attack machine that a hitter's ever going to face. Be it arm slot, be it extension, be it release. Like, hitters are used to seeing a hack attack machine it's dead on right at you, and it's pretty much a 12-6 heater every time. Sure, they're going to play with the settings and do things like that, but like, at the end of the day, I'm going to go watch these kids and they're going to do stuff that I've probably never seen, which is awesome, right? There is no perfect mechanics. There's nothing like that. So how can I best give you the tools to say, hey, this is what you do outside of the norm, which is awesome. Let's expand upon that and let's make you the best version of yourself, and to be able to give you tools and kind of those guidelines to be able to take you there, take yourself there, I should say.
That's the infomercial I needed. Thank you very much.
I've been practicing in the mirror daily.
Good. Yeah, I'm trying to sell you guys, as best as I can, but this is perfect. I mean, the lunch was great that we had to really kind of bring you guys down here to really discuss it. I mean, I'm excited for what, you guys are doing, because I think we're all on the same page. I think we all have the same goals in mind to get prepare these kids for playing this game the right way. And being the fact that you're coming from, the Tampa, Orlando area, that area you guys are from, to come to a different area is great, because, it just shows your dedication to what you're doing. What can a team or parent or players, if a league or someone wants to get in contact with you, what should they do? What are the steps to kind of say, hey, we would like to have this camp here, or we would like to have this program, or we'd like to get more, get more information on what you're doing? How do they go about doing that?
Give me your website, Reeves.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I have everything linked through my own Martin Pitching Performance website, just because this one's a little bit more of a quote pitcher-based camp. And I'm having some of my guys that I see in person are coming down. So yeah, just martinpitchingperformance.com. If you look over under services and everything, you'll be able to find the camps, and it'll walk you through everything in terms of, if you guys are interested in signing up, go ahead and you can click through the registration link and everything there. I also have my Instagram, just Martin Pitching. So if you guys ever have questions, or anybody that's listening to this and wants to kind of pick my brain about some pitching and throwing stuff, I'm always welcome to do that. I can sit and talk about this stuff for a while. So Martin Pitching on Instagram. You can find my website, martinpitchingperformance.com. And that's where we're doing everything for this camp specifically.
Okay. And then, of course, the cost of the camp is including the Fuego ball, correct? That's something that they get for registering and paying the cost of the camp.
Correct.
Exactly. Yep. Everybody will be going home with a Fuego. And
we got one to go home with.
Yeah, and a couple guys be getting some stickers and maybe some fun Fuego shirts. So maybe somebody that throws the hardest or spins the best. Well, that's still up in the air to decide.
So I may need you to help me with my arm angle and my pain that I get right here every time I throw 200 pitches in batting practice. I think I'm throwing a lot, and that's twice 200. A week. So that's 400 and almost, because you figure 10 per kid, foul balls here and there, the extra mile. So I think I need to see how I'm throwing my arm. So I'll be signing up too.
We'll get you throwing right and left, David. I think that's the only answer I got for you for throwing 400 balls with BP.
Yeah. 50-year-old guy, don't look it, but I do feel it. So there you
go. I just want to say too about the camps before we wrap things up. But I think with the Clean Fuego, what you guys are doing with the product is different too, because there's a million, and I send Korey stuff sometimes, like, what, you ever seen this product before? You ever seen this product? And it's like you a kid or a parent orders a product for their kid, right? They're like, oh, there's this new hitting tool, this new pitching tool, throwing tool, whatever it is. They don't know what to do with it other than the Amazon video they watched on it, right? Or maybe the website has a couple of instructional videos, but you're actually taking a device that is built for pitchers and you're showing them how to use it effectively. So it's a different in a good positive approach to using these products. So it'd be great to see more people do that. Maybe you guys are the trailblazers of that method, but I like it.
I'll buy anything and try anything, and usually when I buy it, I'm buying it to find all the reasons why we shouldn't use it or don't need it. So if it kind of stays in the toolbox or toy box, then it's usually worth it, right? It's worth the crap. So obviously this thing's in the toy box. So
I got one thing on that. So there is a L screen that I use. It's not metal. It's more of I don't know, rope material type of thing. And I'm gonna tell you right then, that thing has saved my life maybe 5 times a practice, because that ball bounces right off of it. So I'll speak for that product. It is the best L screen and folds up, gets put away, but that thing has saved my life. So
hey, get them on the podcast.
Hey, yeah, you're right. There you go. Call the company and say, hey, this thing saved my life. Let's talk about how to save other people's lives.
Talk about an infomercial.
Yeah. Well, I will say, guys, it's been a pleasure talking with you guys today. We covered a lot of ground. Good conversation, good information. I'm hoping you guys have a big success with your program down there in Fort Myers area, and more up here in Orlando soon, hopefully.
Yeah. We want to come back up there too. We really enjoy it. God, we have so much fun out there. So just show up.
Yep, that's great. Well, thanks for telling your story, David. We got Easy Mortgage to thank, our sponsor for the podcast. Of course, get on the merch shop and order some stuff with the Legends on Deck on us to support us. Episode 54 of the Legends on Deck podcast. We continue to slowly build over these the fall months here, but we're marching towards 100 now, right?
Yep, we'll be there. Hopefully, if you do another June like you did last year, we'll be there by July 1st.
I don't know if we I don't know if we could take another June like last year with our podcast schedule. So, but another great episode. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for having us,
Brian,
guys.
David. Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it big time.